Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tattoo Critiques. I'm Pony Lawson, and what we like to do here is critique your tattoos that you send in. Whether you're an artist or collector, I like to talk about them all. I also like to talk about my favorite tattoo of the episode, as well as my least favorite tattoo, or as we like to call it around these parts. Y'all ready to check out some collectors this week? Draw! First up, we've got... Sorry, y'all. First up, we've got Jennifer Neary. Jennifer sent in this memorial tattoo of her dad, a little crossword with some flowers around the outside. I like the general overall idea of this tattoo for a memorial for your father. I haven't really seen a crossword puzzle type tattoo before, let alone a memorial tattoo, so this is pretty cool. It says in the email that the poppies and gladiolus flowers are his birth month flowers, and his handwriting was actually from the last letter that he wrote you. You also mentioned that when he was a little boy, he spent hours and hours looking for shamrocks or four-leaf clovers. It does seem like there's a lot of things going on in this tattoo that the artist managed to capture quite well. This is one of the things, though, that if somebody were to bring to me and they mention they want 10 things in a tattoo, it can be kind of difficult to put all those expectations into one tattoo. So again, the artist did a great job on that. However, there are small technical things that I would work on. Mainly the flowers on the right-hand side. They just don't give off a very realistic vibe. That might have not necessarily been what the artist was going for, but to me it just seems a bit drab. The greens aren't that vibrant and the outlines are a little bit shaky. I would have liked to see more shading in the flowers as well, some darker shades, just some overall contrast to help those flowers become more lively. You know, maybe a little bit deeper magentas or things like that. Something to just help those flowers really pop. Right now they're just falling a little flat. And same thing with the green that's on the vines and stems. They're just falling a little flat. There's not really any dark green in there to help sell that contrast. This is something that you could still add into this tattoo if you'd like. There is still plenty of room for improvement. The lines in the crossword puzzle itself don't look to be super straight, and there are some lines that appear to be incomplete as well. The shamrocks look okay. They don't need any more additional detail. They're very small, so you don't want to overwork those. Maybe it's a little bit of shading in the leaves here and there, but nothing crazy. There are a couple parts on this tattoo that I'd like to discuss, and I could be wrong about this. I'm just very curious. Through the shine on this black cross part of the crossword puzzle, I can see a little bit of bubbling. And same thing with the poppy on the left-hand side, in the middle of that, with the black area. It seems like there's a little bit of bubbling. It seems like this is the start of a rough heal, or maybe the artist overworked these parts of the tattoo. I could be wrong. This is just something through my experience that when things start to heal like this, where they seep a little bit like that just in certain areas, that they may scab or could even possibly catch an infection. I'd be interested in to see what this looks like now, healed. Overall, very cool tattoo, Jennifer. There are a few tweaks that I would do here and there, but in the end, overall, this is a great memorial tattoo for your father. So thanks again, Jennifer. I appreciate you sending that in. This next tattoo is sent in by Yovani, and Yovani sent in this DBZ, or Dragon Ball Z tattoo. I don't watch Dragon Ball Z. I've never seen an episode in my life, but I do know that this is Yu-Gi-Oh! I honestly have no idea who this is. I just know it's from Dragon Ball Z. Don't judge me, I'm here to critique you, okay? That being said, I feel like this guy could use a little bit of work. Nice tattoo overall, but there are things that I would add. There's a lack of dark shades and black shading in this whole entire tattoo that I think would benefit this a lot. I think if the artist would have added some black shading first before adding the color, it would have really helped this color pop a lot, and it would have given the tattoo a nice foundation or structure from the very beginning. It's something that I see a lot of artists not doing, is adding that black shading first. Almost similar to a comic book style. You know, you need that foundation, that groundwork to be put in there first, and then put the colors on top, just to make everything pop and become more clear. The colors themselves are a little splotchy. They're not super clean, like when it comes up to the hair and pants and things like that. I feel like it could be just a little bit cleaner or a little bit more saturated. It kind of seems like the artist wanted to put like a little bit of dots or some watercolor feel into the hair. I'm not sure if that was the intention or not, but I do see a little bit of blue dots in the hair. Again, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball Z. This could be in his hair. I don't know. It's just not that readable. So another thing I want to talk about is the line weight and line structure around this entire tattoo. There are a lot of parts where it seems like the line isn't that strong or is very weak. And the parts that I'm talking about is the hair in front of his face, the arms that are crossed in front of his body, things like that. The artist could have benefited from using a bit thicker outline on those parts just to give it some separation in his body parts and the hair and things like that. I think this whole thing would have looked great with a 14 round liner around the entire edge, maybe a 9 liner around the hair, and then like a 3 liner or 5 liner for the small details. It's little things like that that takes tattoos to the next level. It does look like the artist put in a few different line weights, but maybe they just didn't quite commit fully. There are some parts in the hair that are thicker, and then there are some lines in the arms that are a lot thinner. So you can tell that a couple different size needles were being used. But I just wish they were used a little more and that line weight carried throughout the entire tattoo. There are a few qualms I have with the arms of this character, one being his tricep. It kind of looks like his fingers wrapped around his arm, but I'm assuming it's his muscle. And there is one tiny design flaw of the wraps of his arms. The lines just come too close together. Again, I don't know much about these characters, but his neck does look awfully thick. He got that thick boy neck. I would have liked to see some other color tones in this yellow as well, whether that be orange, brown, or maybe even a little bit of black, just to give that yellow some pop. The yellow kind of just seems flat or thin. That about wraps it up for this tattoo. Thank you so much, Yovani, for sending that in. The next tattoo is sent in from Stephanie Herschbach. Stephanie has sent in this back tattoo that I really dig. It's very interesting. There are a couple things that I'm going to point out, one of them being the solid blacks that you have in these circles here. I can tell that the black just doesn't go all the way to the edge when it's meant to. If you look on the very right side of the right circle and the very left side of the left circle, there's a little bit of holiday where once that heals up, you'll see just a little bit of skin tone in there. It seems like that's the one thing that this artist didn't quite nail 100%. Everything looks great, it's just these solid blacks, which are very hard to do, especially when budding them up to lines like that. You know, you just see a little bit more when it's healed. So again, if you can send in a healed photo, I'd like to see that just to see if I'm right. But I know I am. The symmetry is on point, the shading seems to match on each side, so excellent job there. The lines are nice and bold, and I like the little bit of stippling that's running throughout this tattoo as well. The main thing being these black circles, because your eye is drawn to those immediately, so that's the one thing that I would make sure is 100% complete. But again, I really dig the style of this tattoo and the tattoo overall. So thank you so much, Stephanie, for sending that in. I appreciate you. Next up, we have a tattoo sent in by Steve Cashner. Steve, you sent in this chest piece that says established in 2000, and there's this angelic figure below. Steve, you mentioned you weren't a huge fan of how it turned out, and to be honest, neither am I. So let's talk about why. It seems like the angelic figure didn't heal out as good as she was supposed to. It seems to be like a lot of the dark pieces fell out of this, and I'm only under that assumption is because some of that black got left behind that's in the hair and things like that, but the eye detail, the nose, mouth, and the finite detail around the arms, things like that that are separating the body and hair from the wings, just seem to fall out or weren't really put in there to begin with. This does seem like a great foundation to be worked on and improved upon. You can add some of those blacks back into this tattoo and some of the detail back into the wing and things like that, so this tattoo is absolutely salvageable. Maybe just add one more session. I'm not sure what's going on with the bottom right of this tattoo where it looks like there's two random shade marks. I'm not sure if that was accidental, purposeful, or if her feathers are falling off. But it's definitely awkward or out of place. It seems like everything you have on your chest needs some work, to be honest. When you look at the ROS initials, that could be clean. When you look at the tree tattoo as well, I know we're not exactly talking about this, but it seems like that tree could be cleaned up as well. I'm not exactly sure what the two X's represent, or if you forgot when you were born. Hopefully there's a meaning behind there and that wasn't just a mistake and you X those out. It just seems out of place. So to reiterate, a second pass on this tattoo would do it wonders, bringing back a few more of those details that got lost, and I think you'd be a lot happier than where you're at now. So thank you, Steve, for sending that in. I appreciate you letting me talk about that. So the next tattoo is sent in from Naija. Naija, you sent in this Athena tattoo on your right leg that's pretty big. Overall, I think this is a great concept, and the elements that you have in this tattoo are pretty cool, down to the little pink ribbons that you have on the shield as well. I like those little details a lot. I like the color of the flower down here at the bottom, and I like the blue in the background as well. I maybe would have liked to seen a little bit of shape with that blue, maybe, you know, turn it into some clouds or something illustrative, but where it sits, it works as well. These are just little thoughts that I have. The owl and the wing look great, but the part where the wing connects to the owl looks a little thin. I think I maybe would have tucked that wing in behind Athena's helmet and made it a little bit more wide. I think that would have also given it some nice depth to it as well, instead of just having that wing off to the side. The little details in this tattoo really make it. I love the small details that you have in her helmet and on her shoulder as well, and the braid that's coming out of her hair. These little things, like I said, really make this tattoo great to look at. Not exactly sure what these little pearls are at the bottom since I don't see them anywhere else in the tattoo. I'm sure they have a reason or a place to be there. I'm just unsure. It's a nice, bold, strong tattoo overall. There are just a few things that I would tweak. So thank you, Naija. So this next tattoo I would like to talk about, but the picture that was sent in is just so very grainy, and that's something that I want to bring up. When you're sending in these tattoos, you have to make sure you're sending over a photo that's as high as resolution as possible, because things like this happen. I'm not trying to be all preachy, I just can't use these photos because I can't see the tattoo or the quality or the line work or anything like that. They are literally unusable. So for some of those who are asking that they haven't seen their tattoos being critiqued yet, this could be one reason why. So make sure your photo is not blurry, and don't take any screenshots. Try and take the photo yourself, or see if you can get the photos from your artist, or if you are the artist, just make sure that you're sending over the best quality image you have. Because I can't really tell if this is a farm behind this cow or if those are milk jugs.
Yeah, I thought it was that's a gravestone.
That's a fucking farm.
It's a gravestone.
You guys are high.
Wait, oh, I see, there's a cow.
Yeah, there's a cow.
It's a cow.
And that's a farm.
That's a goat, bro.
He's
got a beard.
He's got horns. That's a cow and a half.
Goats have horns.
That's a buffalo. Is that a buffalo? See? We don't know if this is a buffalo, a cow, a goat, a gravestone.
Minnesota?
I think it's Minnesota. And I can't tell if this is a farm or milk jugs in the back. I can tell if that's wheat because I'm an Indiana boy. But that's about it. Joel, for future reference, send in a nice photo that I can talk about. I'd like to see your tattoo. Next! Up next is a black and white 1950s Cadillac from Marcy Oller. Personally, I love tattoos like this. There are a few things that I'm going to talk about. Let's start with the background shades. I'm not a huge fan of this black background that sits on top of the car. I wish that kind of faded out or had some kind of environment that this car was living in. Whether that be something from the actual photo, could be bushes, could be old stores, things like that. Or again, if it's just some softer shade that's just pushed away from that black. I'm just not a huge fan of that solid black that sits on top of the car and rides the entire way around. I like the black shadows underneath the car because that's where the heavy shadows are, and that's what helps lift it off the ground and give it some nice pop. There are a few things in the front of the car that look a little wonky, the grille being one of them. The grills of cars are so very hard to tattoo, and this one you can tell is just not super straight or clean. Everything seems to get a little bit lost in the front part of this car, which should be the most important part of this tattoo. The front needs to be the most clean and the most detailed and the most legible. As we go to the rear of the car, things can get a little more washed out or a little more blurry, and it would actually help sell that depth. But the front of this car is just very hard for my eyeballs to make sense of everything. There's lots of random black here and there, and there's just parts that don't look very symmetrical. I honestly don't even know what's going on up front in the front part of that bumper. It kind of reminds me of a bumper from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The gray shades that you have in the hood of this car, I think, are exceptional. The 50% grays that you have, they don't look so clunky or muddy. Overall, I would have just liked to see this tattoo a bit more clean, maybe a little bit more time taken on this, a little bit more care and love. You also sent in this little group of flowers on your leg with this little Reaper dog in the background. I love the little Reaper dog. I think he's cute and cool. I like the greens in the leaves, and I like the tone of pink that you have in these flowers as well. I'm not sure if I would have included this Reaper dog on this tattoo or if I would have kept him for a separate tattoo, but he works. He's a little hidden. Again, I'm not sure if that's something that you wanted to be out in the forefront or to notice right away. I didn't notice the dog initially when I first glanced at this tattoo, but clearly I notice he's there now. I feel like the flowers themselves could use some work structurally. There are a couple things here and there that you could change in order to make these more believable. Mainly that top rosebud on the top right. I'm just not sold that it's a rose. I probably would have replaced that dog with the flower that's sitting below him. I would have moved that flower up and put him in its place, and then got the dog tattoo elsewhere. Bringing that flower up where that dog is currently would have also helped hide the end of that stem, and the stem wouldn't just disappear off into nothing. Overall, it's a good tattoo. It's just pretty basic. There's not really a wow factor. Thank you very much, Marcy, for sending those in. So that wraps it up for this week's critiques. But before we go, you know, we gotta talk about my favorite tattoo as well as my least favorite tattoo. So my favorite tattoo this week was sent in by Stephanie Hirschbach. Stephanie, this was my favorite tattoo this week for a few reasons. It's just big and bold, and for the most part, everything is done very well on this tattoo. There are only a few things that I would have done differently or changed or tweaked with this tattoo overall, and that's why you're this week's winner. And this week's winner of the toilet tattoo was sent in by Steve Cashner. Steve, I'm gonna have to agree with you when you said you weren't super happy with this tattoo. It just needs a lot of TLC. So there are some detail that definitely got lost throughout the healing of this tattoo that you could push back in, maybe smooth out some edges, add some small detail on the wings, add some more black overall. It's not the worst tattoo I've seen by any means. It just needs another session of love. Adding those few things can really help elevate this tattoo from the toilet tattoo to a nice, good-looking tattoo that you'd want to live with forever. Maybe not a winner, but a decent tattoo. But thanks again anyway, Steve, for sending that in. So that wraps it up for this week of Tattoo Critiques. Don't forget, if you want to see yours on the show, just send it in to ponycritiques@gmail.com. So don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when the next time a video goes up. And if you're really enjoying these videos, we offer a membership now where you can see these videos 5 days early. There's also some other perks in there as well, as little emojis of myself and my dogs and fun things like that. So thanks again. I appreciate you guys watching. Y'all be good now.